Welcome to Teradek's live coverage of the International Broadcasting Convention, IBC, in the Netherlands, Amsterdam to be specific. It is kicking off right now. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. There are so many big announcements already happening here. First of all, Sony announced a new camera, the FS7, also called the Manua. It is unbelievable. It will record at 600 megabits per second. It will also do 4K. It will do UHD 4K when it ships next month, and then with a firmware update, it will do DCI 4K. It will do that at 60 frames a second and HD at 120 and 180 frames a second. You also have SDI and HDMI outputs, ND filters built into this camera, and it's about that big. They're saying it's going to go for about $7,000 to $10,000. It should be very interesting. Super 35 millimeter sensor. Odyssey announced this morning, Convergent Design announced this morning that the Odyssey will also have a firmware update that will allow you to record 4K in the ProRes codec. There are a lot of other announcements expected, a lot of other great news happening. One of the biggest splashes here at IBC already is from NewTek. NewTek has announced a new product called Talk Show, and that is a Skype product. We're going to find out all about that in just a second, because our first guest is a good friend of mine, Philip Nelson. I couldn't think of a better first guest to have, and timing, it worked out so well. Philip, thanks so much for joining us.
Man, it's exciting to be here again with you and hang out a little bit.
You know, you and I kind of bump into each other all over the place. NAB, we saw each other at the Geek House for Geek Beat's unveiling of their new house for that. That was unbelievable.
And at the Teradek booth.
And at the Teradek
every year.
Booth. And that was in Dallas, the Geek House. And then, you know, here we are at IBC. This is unbelievable. You guys introduced Talk Show. I think that what we're doing is a talk show. I think this is one of the coolest new things I've ever seen. It allows the broadcasters to take a 1RU unit, put it into their rack, and get better control over Skype coming in, so that somebody out in the field or anybody that they want to be able to Skype in, even viewers, being able to Skype in can, but the interface on the end of the broadcaster is much more robust and allows you to control the color correction and all this other stuff and control it a lot better. You know, I'm excited about this. Tell me all about it.
Well, you know, what's really neat is in this internet television revolution, broadcasters and podcasters and webcasters have been trying to integrate Skype feeds into the broadcast since they started.
And it's been a nightmare.
It's always a headache, always a nightmare. You're dealing with so many different issues, whether it's audio sync or color correction or dropped signal on the guest's end. And so with the new Talk Show product, which is, I think, one of the most exciting things we've announced in a while, as you said, it's a 1RU system that allows you to integrate over 300 million Skype users all over the world into your live broadcast. HD SDI in and out. It has, and because we're NewTek and we know video switching, we've also added in some new cool features, which are like color correction. I mean, if your color looks bad on your Skype feed, you can tweak it on the Talk Show. It has audio compressor and limiter, so you can tweak audio, and then there's also a video in to Talk Show, so that you can give your guests the feed from your show so they can actually watch you while you're live.
So this is amazing. First of all, some of the challenges that people have had in the past is, and this goes back to radio with telephone calls, is mix minus when you have a phone call. And that is basically where I need to feed you, the caller, the show audio without hearing yourself back, and you need to feed the talent the same audio of the show minus the talent, so that, you know, I can hear what the caller's saying without hearing myself echo back, and the caller can hear me and the other people on set without hearing themselves back, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Then you have a whole slew of other challenges. You're talking about video sync, latency, all this other stuff, and you've solved all of this with this 1RU unit. It's very exciting. I think we have a clip. I want to find out more about it from you, but I think we have a clip, so let's roll that. And the coolest thing you said is that it eliminates the need to put a webcam somewhere, so that you then can just show a wide shot of the studio or whatever to the person at home, because they always complain, hey, I can't see you guys, I don't know what you're doing.
They want to know when they're on. They want to know, you know, if they've cut away. So it is pretty amazing.
Let's check this clip out. So that's Talk Show from NewTek. NewTek is also the manufacturers of TriCaster.
Yeah.
This works also with any video switcher. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a TriCaster.
It's made to work with any broadcast environment. It's now a new source for your live show. Whether using a TriCaster or $1 million switcher, this is now a source. And you can have as many talk show units as you want. If you want to have 6 guests or have multiple guests being queued up and watching, you can set this up with multiple talk shows.
So one of the shows I love is Around the Horn. I think it's a great format on ESPN. It's so hard to duplicate that format. They're doing satellite feeds, spending a ton of money every day with multiple satellite feeds. Now you're able to duplicate this kind of show with a TriCaster and talk show, and a couple of talk shows, and have multiple people Skyping in from different locations. It's phenomenal. What's the price point on this?
It's going to be, we have an introductory price that is $39.95.
Okay, excellent.
And it's, as you saw in the video, there's a monitor on the talk show rack, so you can actually see the source. So, as an engineer, I don't have to go look at the computer interface in another room. I can just look at the rack and I know we've got signal. It's really pretty awesome.
It is.
One other thing that's really cool about the talk show is that it has a feature so that you can do a frame grab from your video. So if the visitors or your guests' internet connection drops, it will still show, it'll automatically fail over to that still image with audio.
That's awesome.
So if your bandwidth drops, it knows you need audio, but it'll go to a still image, so the show will go on.
I love that, and I really love this. I think that $39.95, you said, is a great price for it. It's a really good price, because when you think about what you've had to do, you've had a dedicated computer to this before. Come out, it had to be a certain computer, come out HDMI, change it to SDI, and do all these other things. This is purpose-built. It's terrific.
Yeah.
I also see it working really well in video conferencing for corporations. I've spent a lot of time dealing with telcos, and they always talk about how the biggest challenges in the boardrooms are dealing with the Ciscos of the world and the Questrons of the world, and integrating all these solutions to get actual good video conferencing between people.
Yeah.
And I think that this is actually a really good solution for them as well.
There's going to be so many uses for this. Like I said when we first started discussing this today, I can't tell you how excited I am about Talk Show, because there's been such a need in the market for this, for broadcasters, as you said, in corporate and education. There's so many places this can be used that there's a need for a professional, Skype integration into systems. And as you said, before Talk Show, it involved a lot of headaches, a lot of little mystery boxes, a lot of wires that could be disconnected or have problems. And so troubleshooting a Skype setup in the past was always a headache in a broadcast environment. Now it's a single box, internet connection, HD SDI, integrated in a professional way. Another thing that it does is it has the software actually will filter out a lot of the noise of other people trying to call in. It doesn't interrupt. If you're in a Skype chat,
that was
it's
always
like
the worst
some
thing.
friend tries to call you as a prank, and all of a sudden it's popping up on your screen, and you're trying to ignore, and all that's taken care of. It's set up for professional Skype integration into a broadcast.
Now, when you and I met, I want to tell you the Skype setup that we had in the studio. We had one computer that was for screening Skype calls or Skype video calls.
Mm-hmm.
We would then, at the time, they let you transfer calls. So we had another Skype number we'd transfer to a secondary computer. And then if we wanted to have 2 people on, we had a third computer for that. Now we had 3 computers just dedicated to Skype, and that all ran into the TriCaster,
Right.
which allowed you to do all the picture-in-picture and all the graphics and all the switching and all this stuff. But that we had to do just to do this, we had 3 dedicated computers. Then we had to have an enormous and super powerful communication system for our IFBs,
Right.
and we had to have a crazy board, audio board, to be able to do mix minus and all this stuff. And it really wound up being about $25,000 worth of gear just to be able to Skype.
Wow.
So, and the great thing is you're democratizing this. Literally, we could have a real talk show and have people call in, Skype in, guests Skype in from their mobile phones
Right.
from anywhere in the world when news is happening, when things are happening. And we could do this in a studio garage, right?
Right.
A garage studio,
We
or in a real studio.
Well, in 1985, when
Yeah.
Tim Jennison founded NewTek, he was quoted, And I love this quote. He said, in the next 20 years, your favorite TV show will be made by you or someone you know.
I love it.
And in 1985, we didn't have the internet.
Crazy.
Television studios were millions of dollars. Cameras were tens of thousands of dollars. But Tim knew that's where it was going, and he wanted to be the guy that pushed it in that direction. And with every step of the way, whether it's the TriCaster or talk show, we're empowering people with great ideas and talent to do a show that looks like and competes with shows in million-dollar facilities.
And it's so amazing. When I was growing up, I watched Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Not the skit. Let's start with the skit and then the movie. And all I wanted to do was emulate that. I wanted to be able to create that. It was so exciting to have
did you get your heavy metal long hair? And
I tried. I had a mullet.
Move into your parents' basement.
I had a mullet,
we need to call up a photo of you in a mullet. I think your next show we need to have some blackmail photos.
We might have to find that somewhere. But the key is that was a dream, and it didn't even ever seem like reality. And I remember my friend had a handy cam, and we tried this, and you could actually do some very archaic graphics in the Handycam, and we tried to do that, and then we had a very small video switcher mixer, and then whatever. But what TriCaster has done is phenomenal. I'd love to see a van that is equipped with a TriCaster, the talk show, and a Teradek encoder, like with a bond. And be able to go literally anywhere in the world and do a multi-camera live show that, like you said, could be as good as the NFL or CBS could put on, and as professional, and have guests be able to go anywhere. Imagine if you could drive that van up to the scene of a natural disaster or whatever, how powerful and amazing that is.
We're actually working, there's a school system in Huntsville, Alabama, who they were charged with building a emergency response vehicle that could communicate if all power and all internet's down in Huntsville, after the tornadoes hit, one of the biggest disasters in that area. Well, they built it around a TriCaster. And so that in addition to just being able to communicate, they could do live broadcasting. And what's funny is we did a tour, I don't know if you remember, we built the world's smallest HD mobile unit.
Yes.
Where we put a TriCaster and a 3-play into a smart car.
Awesome.
And then took it all around. At that time, Teradek didn't have the Teradek technology, so we didn't. But now that would be, you could put it in.
That would be unbelievable.
A very small vehicle and roll it in anywhere.
And the thing that I love is here's my iPhone, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a Droid, and the Samsung Galaxy or the Note, the Galaxy S5 or the Note. And the thing is that somebody can literally show up somewhere and Skype off of this.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about Skype. There's over 300 million users of Skype. So if somebody has an Xbox, if they have a mobile device, or a computer or a laptop, you can integrate people from anywhere, in the world, using multiple devices into your broadcast
and be
show.
live off of it. It's pretty amazing. So I'm super excited about that. Talk about the TriCaster. You guys have been just improving. We're using it now to do this broadcast, here in the Teradek, set. This is Teradek's live continuing coverage of IBC. We're in Amsterdam. This is a perfect example.
Right.
Teradek built this set in the Vitek Group booth. So Teradek is a Vitek Group brand and built this set in the Vitek Group booth here at IBC in a matter of hours, really. And they've done an amazing job. The crew here has done an amazing job. And we've got a multi-camera live set. We're using cue ball cameras, light panels, the newest light panels. They look amazing. And the TriCaster is backboning this whole thing. And, of course, the Teradek devices are streaming this. So I think we have a cube encoder making this, stream beautifully.
Well, when we designed TriCaster, we wanted to make live TV portable, affordable, and easy to do. That really puts the power in the hands of the creator when you do those three things, because they're not limited by price, they're not limited by space, and they're not limited by a very complicated to use and learn system. And so that's what's neat. I'm sure the TriCaster is probably the quickest thing to set up in the studio. Putting in the studio and decorating it and mounting all the lights probably took longer than setting up the TriCaster.
They literally, what they did is they flew it in a cargo case, they took it out of the cargo case, and literally the cables were already run. They just went plugged it into power, and they're ready to go.
That's why TriCaster is the #1 portable video system in the world. I mean, our clients are producing over 60,000 hours of video every week.
That's amazing.
You know, and what's really cool for us with the TriCaster is the fact that this technology is powerful enough that the NBA and NFL now.
What about MTV? You were at the MTV Video Music Awards.
Taking one for the team. Yeah,
you have
tough
such a hard
gig, man.
life.
It's a very
tough
I
gig. Used to go to those when I was a kid, and they used to do it in New York. And I used to get VIP passes and go behind the scenes and go to the after parties that were at Bryant
I just
Park.
have to sneak in. I don't get passes.
Oh, it was amazing back then.
No, it is amazing. But you know, that's what's exciting for us is that we've designed a system that's powerful enough for those major networks and major broadcasters to use, but at the same time, it's affordable enough and easy enough to use that fifth graders in Vegas can do a daily news show. And you know, these kids are so little, their feet don't even touch the ground when they're sitting behind the desk, but they have a TriCaster, and it's the same technology being used for Miss Universe and Miss Teen USA and VMAs and
what I love is that you guys also have pricing for, yes, it's very affordable, but you also have pricing for education so that these kids are learning on a TriCaster, but the schools can afford it.
Yeah, it's under $5,000 to get started with the TriCaster for schools.
You know, the thing I love about the TriCaster, and there are all sorts of different video switchers on the market. There's ones that are, as you mentioned before, a lot more expensive. There's ones that are a lot less expensive even, but the reality is that the TriCaster is really the only solution I've ever seen in my life. And that is an all-in-one solution. That's an encompassing solution, and that works and works well consistently. That you can do audio, you can do your graphics, you can record your camera feeds. Not only can you record your program, but you can record your camera feeds. You can do the graphics. You literally can do your waveform, your vector scope, your color correction, and everything you need to do in this device. There's nothing else out there that does all of that. Yeah, sure, you can buy a video switcher, and then you can add a Chiron, and you can add a audio board, and you can add all these other things, or you could buy a TriCaster. And the TriCaster also is modular, where you can add the 3-play, you can add the talk show, and if you wanted for some reason, you can use a separate audio mixer. You can do all these things as well. And
with NewTek, we actually, if the TriCaster has an open development platform, an SDK is available. So we have over 50 third-party developers that are creating technology to work with TriCaster. So as a scalable technology, this TriCaster I can buy and work on this little round glass table. I can set it up and do a show. But if I need to do a really high-end complicated show, I can add in VizRT graphics or Chiron graphics. I can add in a newsmaker, newsroom automation system. I can add in, you know, high-end virtual sets. And there's just so many different third-party developers. And that's what's cool about TriCaster is it's scalable. What we see a lot of times is someone has an idea. They buy a TriCaster. You know, the show's successful, they start getting more sponsors, they start making money, and they start expanding this style of show, whether they want to work in real-time data feeds through through a live text and take in, SQL database information and create real-time graphics. There's all these scalable solutions. So, and I think that's one of the reasons we've had such success at so many different levels, from the beginner all the way up to the network, is because that TriCaster is like a Swiss Army knife. You may buy it just to do video switching and add in some graphics, but the next show maybe you need a green screen, maybe you need a virtual set, maybe you need to integrate graphics that are coming in from a Chiron IP system. It's really pretty amazing, and that's why we're number one.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And then you can, the thing that's crazy is, like, in an environment like this, right? You have no room to put a console. You could operate it from a keyboard and a mouse, which is what we're doing here. But if you have the room, you could have a whole console like you would have with a normal video switcher. I like the flexibility of that. The Geek House has the newest, latest, greatest TriCaster. It is gorgeous, and the newest control surface.
Yeah, the TriCaster 8000.
Yeah, that's what we're using here, by the way. It's an 8000 as well, but it doesn't have the control surface. Tell me about all the features of the 8000.
Well, the thing about TriCaster is we try not to take too much out when it comes to the lower end or lower price systems. It really has to do with connectors and like the TriCaster 8000 has a fail-safe mode. Okay. So like in a high-end broadcast environment, if something blows up, that's not good. So with the TriCaster 8000, let's say you're, a power strip goes bad, or in the middle of your show, the TriCaster 8000, if there's 2 of them, they can be running in mirror mode.
Okay.
So that it auto switches over. So there's all these different. The 8000 really is designed for the high-end broadcaster. The control surface looks like belongs in the Starship Enterprise.
It does.
It is a very powerful system. But what's cool is the same workflow trickles all the way down to the $5,000 TriCaster 40 that schools can buy. So if you learn that basic interface, you need more inputs, you need different types of inputs, you need different types of recording capability, you can upgrade to the TriCaster that best suits your needs.
What's the most fun you've had? I mean, you get to go all around. Give me a story where you've had a lot of fun doing something because somebody needed you to show them a trick with the TriCaster, or just needed to be there to support it.
This one was pretty epic. Jerry Lewis's birthday, I think it was his 87th birthday, they used a TriCaster they switched it live to drive. They didn't go live to air.
Okay.
It was going to air on PBS on linear television during the week when they try to do fundraising. So Jerry Lewis comes to Vegas and does a live show, singing, telling comedy, telling jokes, showing clips that no one's ever seen before from his archives. Unbelievable magical moment, and it was his birthday celebration, and they used TriCaster to ISO record it, switch it, do a line cut, and then they took that line cut and sweetened it up and ran it. It's aired on PBS over 500 times. What was really funny is Jerry Lewis is a technology nerd.
Really?
Oh my gosh, this is the guy that invented video assist. He invented video assist.
I didn't realize that.
He has the record for most union memberships of anyone in Hollywood. I think he said he has 27 union cards.
Wow.
Because he said, when I'm on a set, if I want to adjust your wardrobe, I do it. If I want to go tweak your hair, I do it. If I want to adjust a light, I do it. So working on that show, so we had the TriCaster set up, and he wanted to see it. So we shoot all this stuff before, and he's like, I want to see this thing. And so he comes over, he's checking it out. Well, they had put this giant, 47-inch plasma on a stand right above the TriCaster so he could see what was going on. So we're down on the stage, and they're running TriCaster, and he checks it out. I demo it for him, and he's blown away and excited. And as he walks up the stairs, he decides he's going to play a joke and act like he hit his head on the monitor. Well, he does that, but somebody didn't screw in the monitor. It was just hanging free on this stand. So he hits his head on the monitor. It starts to fall. And so I'm down there going, it's like, no, Jerry Lewis is going to be killed by a falling monitor while checking out the TriCaster.
But that would be epic.
His cameraman grabs it. I reach up and grab the monitor. It falls and destroys like a $10,000 monitor, but we all pushed it away from Jerry Lewis.
Awesome.
And he was saved. So, but just working with Jerry Lewis was pretty amazing, and we were honored that TriCaster powered that. It was produced by Jimmy Osmond and Bob Williams, who's a Hollywood producer. And that was one of my favorite projects. Now, the Miss Universe pageant is a close second.
I would say that would be probably my first. How come I don't have an invite to that?
You can be my wingman next
time.
time.
Awesome. I can't wait. Maybe my favorite TriCaster memory is that I did a live broadcast of the NFL Player of the Year Awards.
Oh, wow.
The first ever off of a TriCaster. So let me just tell you this story real quick because it's awesome, and it really speaks volumes of what TriCaster can do. So the year before we did this, I was at the NFL Player of the Year Awards put on by the NFL Alumni Association as a guest. They thought, what could we do to make it better? Right. How could I help? And could we shoot some video, sizzle reel, so to speak? And I walked in the room, and it was literally an award. There were no cameras. It wasn't broadcast to anybody. It was literally for the players and their families only. And what they would do at the end of it is they'd hand the AP, the Associated Press, a list and say, here's who won MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, et cetera, Coach of the Year. And the AP would say, MVP, blah, 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 blah. And that would be it. They did that for 39 years. And I turned to the president of the NFL Alumni Association at the time, George Martin, and I said, George, this has got to be, we got to stream this live on the internet or broadcast it. Well, I talked to people at the networks, and they were like, we're not going to do a sports award show. Nobody would watch that. I'm like, what about the ESPYs? They're like, yeah, but they do that just as it's just to promote the ESPN, the network. It's not, they don't make any money off of that. We're not interested. Okay. Fine. I said, I'm going to stream this live.
Wow.
So we stream this live. So we get to Dallas for the 40th annual NFL Player of the Year Awards. It's the middle of an ice storm. literally.
Was this during the Super Bowl?
This was the night before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
It was right after the Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Okay.
In the same space. It's hosted by Alec Baldwin and Tracy Morgan. They fly in these guys to host a show that had never been televised before. This is how it went every year. So Alec Baldwin and Tracy Morgan, we did 4.5 hours in a snowstorm in Dallas, live on a TriCaster, with a remote camera to the red carpet and the whole deal, and it was unbelievable. Everybody said we couldn't do it, and the next year, the NFL called it the NFL Honors, changed the name of the show, and made it a live broadcast, and it's now the NFL Honors.
You know, that's what we're seeing a lot. The TriCaster, I always tell people, it allows you to have behind the velvet rope access.
Yes.
Because historically, to try to do something like that, the cost of failure is high with a traditional broadcast environment. If you're rolling in a 40-foot mobile unit, millions of dollars, and 40 or 50 people, if it's not successful, somebody's getting fired. But with the TriCaster and the price point of TriCaster and the cost of doing a live show with TriCaster, you can try things and the cost of failure is nothing.
Yeah.
And look what you did. You created something and proved to the NFL with your trusty TriCaster that this is a product that people want to see. And that's what MTV's done. What I love is a show that starts on TriCaster grows so big it goes into the 40-foot truck. To me, that's a testament to the power of the TriCaster, like the MTV Red Carpet show. Fans who could never watch the red carpet live, they started streaming it live with TriCaster. Hundreds of thousands of people start watching. The next year it's bigger, next year it's bigger. Now it's actually in a true HD mobile unit because they need 30 cameras and all this. But that show would have never happened without TriCaster, and that's what's happening with NFL Player Awards.
I love it. I love what the TriCaster represents and what it's doing. It is the mobile live truck in a little box, and you can get it literally like as big as this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't know, Philip is a very accomplished and amazing musician. What's the name of your band again?
It's called Philip Nelson.
Philip Nelson. Wow. I meant to bring the CD. It's phenomenal. You got to check it out on iTunes. And, of course, go to NewTek's website, newtek.com, and check out the TriCaster and, of course, Talk Show, the newest product from NewTek that will allow you to Skype better in your broadcast. It's unbelievable. This is your Teradek's continuing live coverage of the International Broadcasting Convention, IBC, here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, folks. I'm Michael Artsis. We'll be back with a whole lot more show and keeping you locked right here to our continuing coverage. So stick around. We have a lot of surprises in store over the next few days.